Hello, my name's Kate and I work for the Network for East Anglian Collaborative Outreach Project. I work with students to help them explore their next steps, whether that's going into an apprenticeship, going to study at university or college, or perhaps going straight into the world of work. In today's session, I'm going to be working through some of the softer skills that you need to help you in whichever path you've chosen to follow next. We've produced a worksheet to accompany this recording so you can come back and have a go at the different activities in your own time. It's important to remember that for all the topics we're discussing today, there's no right or wrong answer, only what feels like the best fit to you at this point in time. And depending on what point you're at in your life, you might even find yourself giving a different answer if you were to repeat any of these activities in the future. As a first step, it's important to check in with where you're at right now. Looking at the image on the screen, is there a particular blob person who fits best with how you're feeling about your next steps? Are you this blob person who has started to take an interest in what is happening but hasn't fully committed to what they need to do in order to actually be a part of what's happening? Are you the blob person who's just taken those steps to actively be involved in their future, in this case getting into the swimming pool, but still wants a bit of support and reassurance from those around them? Perhaps you're the one who's already fully submerged themselves in their next steps and feels both happy and comfortable in their surroundings. Or finally, are you this blob person who, for whatever reason, doesn't want anything to do with what's going on and is determined to head off in their own direction entirely? Whichever blob person you feel most drawn to should reflect your emotions and plans and not those of the people around you. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. As well as checking in on how you're feeling, now is an ideal time for you to conduct an audit of your skills. What things would you describe as a strength, for example? And are there areas you'd like to improve? Whatever route you're heading down next, having an awareness and understanding of your skills will put you in a really strong position. Whether you're writing a personal statement as part of your higher education application for university or college, or as part of your CV when you're applying for jobs. Why not follow the link on the screen for a quick and easy way to start analysing those skills? When you complete the quiz, you'll be asked a series of either or questions, and your skills and personality traits will be determined by your answers. Try not to spend too long thinking about your answer though. Instead, focus on your gut feeling, as this will increase the accuracy of your results. So what is the point of the personality quiz? Well, there's roots in the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and it's linked to the psychology of Carl Jung. The quiz is designed to give you a starting point when you think about your skills, rather than making you start from a blank page. The results will highlight your natural strengths and potential characteristic traits, including encouraging you to think about how you interact with those around you. When you get your results, you'll be given 4 different letters. Firstly, are you more of an extrovert or an introvert? Do you often answer automatically without thinking something through, or do you take your time and think everything through before you speak? Whether you get an E or an I, this will tell you something about how you interact with the world and what you pay attention to. Next, we have sensing or nurturing, which explores facts and how we process new information. For example, when faced with a new challenge, do you focus on the facts or look for different options and scenarios? Are you someone who would be classed as feelings or thoughts driven when it comes to making decisions? Do you tend to follow your head or lead with your heart? And finally, what is your attitude towards getting things done? Are you organised and like to get things done early, or do you have a tendency to leave it all to the last minute? Now that you have a better understanding of the personality types, can you work out what type your friends and family would be before they take the test themselves? As well as the 4 different letters, this particular quiz will also liken you to an animal. First, we have the water animals, who are strongest in the nurturing and feeling questions. If your animal is one of the 4 birds, you're likely to be strongest in nurturing and thinking. For the bears, sensing and judging leads the characteristic traits. And lastly, the cats are strongest when it comes to sensing and perceiving. How many different animals are amongst your friendship groups, or even your family? Who else is the same animal as you? Now that you understand the results a little bit more, do you agree with them? Having looked into your skills, it's also worth thinking about your goals. Now, I'm sure you've all encountered the SMART acronym to help you with the specifics of goal setting, but I want you to take a moment to look at the bigger picture. The be, do, have method is designed to get you thinking about what you're really working to achieve so that you can better identify the steps along the way. This end result that you're working towards is the have. Working backwards allows you to identify what you need to do in order to achieve that end goal. And the be refers to the type of person we must be before we can start taking those steps to achieve that end goal. As well as looking forwards, it can also be really useful to take a moment to look back and have a little bit of a reflection. So we've asked a couple of students from Anglia Ruskin University to tell us what advice they would give to their younger selves.
I would tell 15-year-old me not to worry about too much and to really show your confidence, because I wasn't that confident at 15. Really showcase what you have.
I'd probably tell my 15-year-old self that to probably have more confidence in yourself and actually believe that you can do it. All the hard work and dedication will get you there.
So what does the future look like for you? Have you got a clear path laid out, or are you working things out as you go? As adults, we have a tendency to continually ask, what do you want to be, or what do you want to do when you're older? But we forget to add the important subtext that it's completely okay for the answer to be, I don't know, or I haven't worked it out yet. You are in control of which direction you head next, whether you're going to go and sit on the beach, go for a dip in the sea, or head off camera in a completely different direction entirely. The only caution I'd add is don't sit still on the beach for too long, because the weather can change very, very quickly. If I asked you to think about what the future might look like for you, it's possible that you'd only have the outline and are missing some of those finer details. Perhaps you've always known what you'd like to do careers-wise, and therefore the image is pretty much filled in. Or maybe you haven't even worked out what medium you'd use to draw the image. Whatever stage you're at, it can be really helpful to think about your expertise in the form of your skills and life experiences. Thinking about some of your credentials will allow you to explore areas and topics that you could be the go-to person for. This might even be your mastermind subject. And finally, what are you really passionate about and what are you driven by? Being able to explore each of these areas will allow you to identify your niche area or skill set. And this is that space where you can really drive change and make an impactful difference, whatever you decide you want to do in the future. Whatever route you have planned next, you will at some point end up in a scenario where you need to promote brand you, and maybe even create a vision statement to help with networking and opening the door to potential opportunities. Why not have a go at drafting a short but simple description of the future you would like to see? Do you envisage a future that people around you don't? What change would you like to see, either in the route you're on or the world around you? Remember that this is definitely one of those cases where there's no right or wrong answer. It's only about a future that you could believe in and work towards. It doesn't matter how detailed it is, just have a think about what matters most to you. So let's take a look at the concept of personal branding. What steps led you to the point that you're at today? How much influence or control did you have over the journey you've taken and the decisions you've made? Whatever route you took, investing time in understanding your personal brand will be invaluable when pulling together a CV or answering interview questions. Now, skills and strength we've already touched on today, but what about the values that you hold? What do you believe in? And what attitudes drive your actions? What hobbies and interests do you have? And what past experiences have shaped who you are today? Now, see if you can have a go at answering this question and filling in the blank. You can be anything you want to be if. What sort of answer comes to mind? On the worksheet we've produced, why not have a go at answering some of these questions? Or perhaps you might want to talk to family or friends around you or later on. You might want to write some single words or create a bullet point list. Either way, answering these questions in this activity is something that you can come back to time and time again. it'll help you pull things together for a CV, maybe draft a cover letter, or if you're having to write a personal statement or application form for university or college. Now, as with setting your goals, the more detailed and specific your answers, the more useful this exercise will be and the more time it will save you in the long run. So, first of all, let's think about how you got to where you are today. Now, that doesn't literally mean the mode of transport or the route you took, but instead we want you to think about your education history, the choices you've made, subjects you've studied. You could also talk about any volunteering or work experience you've done, or whether you've got a part-time job at the moment or have got something lined up. Thinking about where you want to be going forwards and how you'd like to be thought of by other people around you. This is going to allow you to identify future opportunities that appeal. Now, that might be an apprenticeship, an internship, perhaps a course to continue some education, or job roles and sectors that you might be interested in working in. Questions around perception and values that you can add will help you talk about what drives you, perhaps in an interview, and showcase the difference that you can make if somebody takes the time to invest in you. And finally, how do you want to be remembered? What impact or legacy do you want to leave, perhaps at the end of a course or when you move on from the job role that you're in? This last activity is one that takes time to perfect and you definitely need some practice. Now, being put on the spot and asked to talk about yourself, even if it's only for a set short piece of time, will come more naturally to some of you. Another way to think about it is it's quite similar to that short profile section you have at the start of your CV. So, what actually is an elevator pitch? Well, as the name suggests, the concept is having a very short amount of time in which to tell someone about yourself and leave a strong, lasting, and most importantly, a positive impression on that person. Think about the concept of having 30 seconds in a lift with someone who could be your gateway into your dream role. What would you say to them? The first thing you're going to need to tell them is, who are you? You're going to need to give them a brief background about what you do and what you can offer. But remember, you might need to add a little bit of extra context depending on who you're talking to. When I introduced myself, I told you that I worked for the Network for East Anglian Collaborative Outreach Programme. But I gave you a very, very brief explanation of what I do. So think about what you might need to explain to a person who wouldn't automatically know it. Secondly, make a connection with them. Even in that short space of time, if you can make a connection with them, they're more likely to remember you. But think about it, why are they going to want to listen to you, especially if they've only got 30 seconds in that lift? Do you have a unique selling point that makes you stand out? Something you can offer them, something that you've done in the past that you think is really unique? Any questions that you want to ask, make sure you ask them with clarity and close out with a really strong final sentence, because that's going to be the last thing they remember. Can you identify what you want that audience to remember most about you? What's that single takeaway that you want them to have? And also, before you start this activity, think about the goal of your elevator pitch. What do you want to achieve from that 30-second conversation with the person in the lift? Hopefully, this presentation has shown you that whatever you're thinking about for your next steps, whether you know what you'd like to do or whether it's still a mystery, there are things you can do to help you along the way, whether you're looking at education or work options. I can't emphasize enough just how important it is to invest time in better understanding your skills, characteristics and strengths, as well as areas to invest some time and development in. It's likely that you'll have several changes in direction in your future, and some of you may end up working in roles that don't even exist yet. Gone are the days when you stay in one role for a lifetime. For help with any of the content or activities that I've talked about in the presentation today, or any questions about your next steps, please do reach out. My email address is on the screen, or you can visit the Take Your Place website, which is www.takeyourplace.ac.uk. Whatever you decide to do in the future, whatever your next steps are, I wish you the best of luck.